Hello everyone, and welcome to the first video on the Bill of Rights. Today we're going to be talking about the First Amendment. The First Amendment is the amendment that prohibits the government from creating any law establishing a religion or prohibiting the exercise thereof. It provides us with the freedom of speech and the freedom of press, and it also gives us the right to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now let's talk about what that means. So first of all, if we talk about the freedom of religion, Thomas Jefferson was the one who first brought up the concept of freedom of religion. People moved to the United States to escape the oppressive Church of England, and but they set up their own state churches, and believe it or not, none of the original 13 colonies were Baptist. So if you were a Baptist preacher in the 13 colonies, you could be tarred and feathered, you could be lynched, you could get all sorts of horrible things done to you because you were teaching a belief system that was contrary to what the state said was right. So Thomas Jefferson noted that there can never be full freedom unless people have the freedom of religion. So the freedom of religion is very important. The government shall not pass any law, Congress shall not pass a law respecting the establishment of religion. That means that the government cannot create a state religion or create their own religion that people have to follow. Like, for example, Confucianism is the state religion of China. The reason for that is because it promotes a communist government, because Confucius believed that if you do what the government says, you will be blessed. If you just follow what the government says, everyone will live in perfect harmony that way. Well, we can look at China today and see that that's clearly not true. Anyway, besides that, Congress cannot make any law establishing a religion. They can also not prohibit exercise of a religion. So, for me, as a Christian, I have every right to follow my belief system. I have every right to worship in whatever way I want, whether it be true or not. The government has no say there. You can worship whatever God you want, you can worship, or you can follow whatever belief system you want as long as it doesn't harm someone else or take someone else's property. Essentially, the two fundamental laws that all of religions agree with. Do all you've agreed to do, and do not encroach on others and their property. So, let's talk about the next part of the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is one of the most basic human rights that exists. If I didn't have the freedom of speech, I wouldn't be allowed to make this video, and you probably wouldn't be watching it either. Freedom of speech makes it so that the government cannot limit what you say. You have every right to use your mouth however you want, as long as you don't, again, harm someone else with it, slander or libel, or harm national security by, like, for example, Snowden giving out crucial, confidential information. So, the freedom of speech protects your right to do pretty much all the other rights in the First Amendment. If you don't have freedom of speech, you can't promote your religion. You don't have freedom of speech, you obviously can't write your opinionated newsletters or whatever. If you don't have freedom of speech, you also cannot petition the government, which was a huge one. Freedom of press, exactly the same thing. The government cannot limit what you write in the news. You can write whatever you want on the internet. You can write newsletters. You can start clubs. You can do anything. And it's as long as you don't slander someone or promote libelous news, as many news companies do today, with President Trump, for example, then what you do is perfectly constitutional, even if it is false or offensive. Now let's talk about the right to peaceably assemble. Now that's a very important one as well. We have the right to, we can protest, we can meet in clubs, We can peaceably assemble, as it says. Riots are not peaceably assembling. You can't protest and go around breaking stuff and hurting people. That is unconstitutional because it harms other people's freedoms. Now let's talk about the last part of the First Amendment, the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Also, extremely important. The the reason we have the redress of grievances is because if the government steps beyond its bounds, dictators, they don't care what the people say. They won't listen. They don't have the freedom to say what they want to say. So, the right to petition the government is a huge one. We can go up, talk to the government, talk to other people around us, get people to follow our political beliefs, and we can change the society to a better one by keeping the government in check. So there's a reason the First Amendment is first, because basically all of the other freedoms that are granted to us by God, really, but are guaranteed to us through the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, they all branch out from the First Amendment. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week for the Second Amendment.